Good morning and welcome to another Tuesday great edition of Money Truth Moments with our very own Money Truth expert and whisperer, Judy Copenbarger. How are you?
I am fantastic. Happy Tuesday to you, Carlos. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. We just finished a fantastic weekend, right? We celebrated our Independence Day. 4th of July was phenomenal. So I hope you,
Amazing.
right?
Amazing. God bless America.
Absolutely. Folks, if you're just joining us, please make sure that you are following Judy at judycopenbarger.today. Today, we are continuing our summer series and we're going to discuss personal finance. But today, we are talking about plan now, play later, how to vacation without debt, right? So, we are going to be talking about that today. So, what do you say we get started, Judy?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. So, the obvious question is why do so many people go into debt over summer vacations?
Oh, I wish it weren't true. It's just so easy. So easy. Lack of planning, just not setting a parameter. You set the time parameter. We're going to leave on Tuesday, come back Saturday, right? You always have that part, but the money part, what do we intend to spend? What is the plan for spending? When you don't have it, it's so easy to go over and come back and go, shoot, now I've got credit card balances that I hoped wouldn't be there again. So that's the problem.
And it's easy to get caught up in that, right? Sometimes I think it's also as parents, or for a lot of parents, it's that guilt trip also. Like, okay, it's summertime. What are we going to do with the kids, or what are we going to do with the rest of the family, right? Like, you're on a tight budget, so what do you do other than get into a lot of debt for sure?
Yeah.
So how can planning ahead reduce this stress and reduce this spending?
Well, just having a plan, planning for the surprises. And I think anytime you have a plan, you want to put in, especially for vacation, because we don't know exactly what's going to happen. You want to make sure there's cushion for the surprises, the things that you don't expect. Maybe there's a travel delay. Maybe, you end up somewhere in the evening and it's like, well, we're bored. We want to go miniature golfing. Well, there's a couple $100, right? So all those little things, you want to put cushion into the spending plan that you have, maybe even more cushion than you would in your normal day-to-day life. So when you have that, then it's like, okay, we can say yes. And it's money that we plan for, not money that is going to end up on the credit card.
And so, folks, if you are just joining us, we don't ever use the word B, budget, right? It's the B word. It's bad.
Not
So we
to.
use spending plan, but that actually leads me to my next question, right? So when most folks are planning, what are common vacation spending mistakes that happen?
Yeah, just not having those variable things in. So let's say we're looking at how are we going to get there? How are we going to get around? So you might plan, you buy your airplane tickets, for the big ticket items. You plan for your hotels, you do that. But what about getting from the hotel to the airport? Or from the airport to the hotel, right? Or to the cruise ship or whatever you're doing. So, oh yeah, that's right. There might be a taxi, there might be some Ubers in there, things like that. There's all these little miscellaneous things. Food, you think about the big things. Okay, we're going to have a budget for dinners every night, breakfast every morning. But what about snacks in the room? What about the extra? Oh, we need water at the park. It's hot and dry, and we got to get a drink. And if you have 5 kids, like some of us might have, and everybody needs a water, what is water? When you're out and about, 2, 3, 4, $5 a bottle times
Yeah.
however many. So things like that. Entertainment is probably the big surprise for people because you want the kids to have a good time. You want to create memories and do all those things. But sometimes there are things that you can say no to, and that allows you to say yes to the things that really will create memories. Sing songs, tell stories about when you were a kid, celebrate things that we did. Like when we were kids, we didn't have big fancy Disney vacations. It just was, even if we wanted to, if my parents wanted to, it wasn't going to be affordable. So we went camping and we did other things, staycations. So think about wherever you are, do what the locals do. The locals don't overspend every day. They're not on vacation. Go where they go and celebrate the culture where you're visiting. And you can probably do that for pennies on the dollar or no money at all.
Do you remember, you brought up Disneyland? Do you remember back in the day, and I'm going to date myself on here, where they had the little booklets? You'd have to get those little tickets to be able to get on the rides and all that fun stuff, right?
Absolutely. Disney had those, the e-ticket. You talk about the e-ticket, right? The A's, you always went home with all the A's and a couple of B's. They weren't fun rides. But the e-ticket was the big one, the Matterhorn, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And,
I
and-
remember that.
yeah, and that's crazy too. You're talking, you basically mentioned like water, right? Something so simple, how much it can cost a
Yeah.
family. I mean, let alone tickets. Talk about Disneyland, right? It's like it's amazing how much has gone up over the years. To where can you
Yep.
really afford to do something like
And
that
so
anymore?
simple. You're right. And so simple. So planning, like water, for example, everybody has a little backpack with their refillable waters in there. And now everywhere you go, they have that nice filtered, sometimes triple filtered water. You can
Yeah,
fill for free. You put the lid back on, and there's your water. Can save a lot of money, just little things, but you got to plan ahead. You got to have the bottle with you, right? So little
yeah.
things like that can really go a long way to save money in those places. Then you can spend it in the fun places.
So I'm going to ask you because a lot of us sometimes tend to daydream our vacations, right? We have this in our minds, this crazy, amazing vacation and all that, but we have to come down to reality, right? So, what are some steps to build a realistic vacation spending plan?
Well, you put the big rocks in first. Remember the story? You put the big rocks in, then you put the small rocks, and then the gravel, and then the sand, and then the water. Remember that story? Put the big
Mhm.
rocks in first. And I think whoever you're traveling with, if it's all the kids, if it's the family, aunts and uncles, maybe you're going with a bunch of buddies, some friends. I've got some trips coming up with some girlfriends. Make sure if there's one big rock, one thing that, boy, if we're going to New Zealand, I'm going to see this. If we're going to Catalina, I'm going to make sure I do this. If we're going to Disneyland, I want to make sure that ride I get on, right? Get the big rocks. Make sure everybody gets the one big thing that will make that trip be the best ever. And hear from everyone, even the littles, right? From their perspective, even if they're not able to explain this to you, what would be the one thing that is a highlight for them? And make sure every travel buddy, every family member gets their say into the one big thing they want to do. And then plan around that. Right? You don't want to have a vacation where the 12-year-old has the best time of their life and the 7 and the 4 and the 2-year-old are like, we just got dragged around, right? So you
Yeah.
want to make sure everybody has a great time.
Folks, if you're just joining us, welcome to the show. Please make sure you watch several episodes back as we have a very special summer series today. We are definitely discussing how to be wiser on spending. So play now, play later, how to vacation without the debt, right? I think there's also something that folks don't really think about. And my next question is, how can someone use, for example, cash, points, travel rewards wisely? Because you don't really think about that, right?
Oh, I do. I do. Yeah, I use my cards, I use my cash. So when you get cash back, what you want to make sure is if you're using bank cash back deals, that you're not losing an investment opportunity just to get the cash back. So I talked to someone recently that had $200,000 in a cash account because she was getting 1% cash back at the end of every year. And I thought, well, what could that 200,000 have been earning, right? So you don't want to get into that kind of thing where you're losing opportunity. It's we call it opportunity risk that way. So, but what is really great is these credit cards. So credit cards now have a lot of affiliations with either a hotel chain, Marriott or Hilton or any of those that you like, or with airlines or with cruise lines. And so if there's a cruise line that you like that you'll probably be frequenting, use that credit card, right? Get the points. And sometimes there's triple or quadruple points you get for using those things. That can really add up. And then you end up with credit that you can use toward trips that you already would. What you want to make sure you're doing, though, is using the airline or the cruise line or whatever hotel, affiliation that you want for the one you're going to use. So you're being proactive, not reactive. What you don't want to do is go, well, here's the card we had, here's the points we get. We really didn't want to go to that kind of a hotel, but because we have it, we'll use it. That's being reactive, not proactive. So look at them. Go online and just Google, we want to go to this place or we want to stay in this kind of a hotel line and find the cards that are affiliated with those. Make sure that they're fair and you're not paying 18% interest, right? If you
Right.
have a balance at all. But get the ones that really give you that great incentive and enticement to use the value there. It's huge. I happen to use American Express, the platinum one. It gives me so much when it comes to things that I use in my life, just my business life. So I can choose an airline that I get several $100s credit for. So if I have to check a bag or if I buy snacks on the plane or whatever, that's included. They just credit it back. I get Uber rides. I get transportation in between. I get hotel discounts. It's amazing. It's amazing. So that one has worked really well for me. And I've got links if anybody wants to get links or just Google it. There's all kinds of ways to save money on travel if you frequently do so. But use those cards. There's some really great opportunities out there to save a lot of money.
And I'm glad you brought that up because, we're so used to just having like personal credit cards. You don't really think about those business cards that could actually help your business thrive, save you on costs, save on travel, like you're talking about. And we forget about that, right? So it's important that folks, you pay attention and make sure that you are looking some of this stuff up so you do get the best bang for your buck, right?
That's
So
great. Yep.
so let me ask you, so when you're on vacation, sometimes you're having a lot of fun, you tend to forget about the spending, chaos happens. Let's use the example of having 5 kids, or you have an entire family, multi-families in these vacations. It's easy to forget how to track spending, right? So what are some best practices that you can share with us on tracking spending while on vacation?
Yeah, just refining your game plan. I would say the night before, plan for the next day. Let's say we overindulged today. We had breakfast in bed and we had extra snacks at the park, and then we went miniature golfing, and then we went out to this dinner place that had extra hootie doos, whatever it was. We kind of overspent today. Well, tomorrow we can belt tighten just for the day. So maybe we'll spend time at a park or we'll go out to the pool. Things that don't cost much, if at all. But plan the night before for that. Maybe tomorrow is your splurge days. Like, we did really well for a couple of days. We've got some extra jingle. So tomorrow we can do something really special. Let's take a vote, kids. What do you guys want to do? We can spend an extra $50 or $200 or whatever it is, right? It's all perspective. Plan the night before for what the goal is financially for the next day, and then keep track of all that. You can take pictures of your receipts or scan them. A lot of people have these little scanners on their phones to keep all those receipts. So later, you know what it was. If you really blew the budget and you want to see where you went wrong, you can go back later and you have all that, and you're not carrying paper around in your wallet or in your purse.
I'm glad you brought that up because there's a lot of great apps out there. You take a picture of your receipt and all that, or you make a little note on the receipt so you remind yourself what this was and all that. So that's very very useful when you're on the go, for sure.
And get rid of the paper. You don't need the paper. You're carrying all the kids' stuff. You don't need any more.
So I'm going to ask you a question regarding something that you've talked about that's well, everything you say is very powerful. Let me just start there. But there's examples that you use. For example, what are some post-trip financial check-ins people should do? And I know that you use a specific type of check-ins that I really love and I want you to share with the folks.
Yeah, well, debriefing. We debrief everything at my office with my family. We debrief everything because we always want to get better. And imagine if you got 1% better. If you just did 1% something today, I should put an umbrella in the trunk of my car, right? That's 1%. In a year, how much better are you? Almost 4 times better. XXX, right? It's amazing. So just keep getting better. So one tool that we've used for many, many years is the debrief method. So it's a rose. So everybody, you go around the room, everybody on the trip, and you can do it by the day, by the week, by the whole trip, right? You say, what was the rose today? What was the one thing that was just the best part? And everybody says one thing. What was the thorn? What's the one thing that really didn't go so well? Well, it rained and, we were hoping to make sandcastles and it rained and couldn't go to the beach, whatever it was. Everybody gets one thorn and then everybody gets one bud. That's an idea to do more, better, or different next time. Now you're going to end up with a whole list. And imagine if you did that every day, but at the end of a trip, everybody, and it could be just focused on finances. It could be just focused on fun or memories or however you want to measure anything. What's the rose? What's the thorn? What's the bud? Everybody puts the input in, and you could come up with a whole list of great tips, ideas, lessons learned to apply in your next travel plan. So that's valuable information. You want to capture it, write it down, put it in your phone, however you take notes, but make sure that you have the rose, the thorn, and the bud from everybody involved. This will really help you do it better next time.
That's great. And I hope you guys are writing this down. For those of you that are just joining us, welcome. Please make sure you watch the beginning of the show and follow Judy at judycopenbarger.today. All of our social media links are there. Leave a comment as well, too. Or if you'd like to just share a topic that you'd like Judy to address, please let us know as well, too. So we're getting closer to the end of the show, but I want to ask you, and you've touched already a little bit on this, but what are your top tips for saving money on travel, on food, and activities?
Wow. I would say travel wise, make sure that you schedule downtime. In our early years, we like cruising, and so we took some cruises, and we every day we did all the excursions, and we did all the stuff, and went to all the shows, and went to all the games, and all the had to eat at every single restaurant. And then we came home kind of exhausted. And traveling abroad, we felt like we had to do everything. Don't miss this spot or don't miss that. And so we learned after, I don't know, 15 years of just putting it all in, we need to have downtime. We need to have spa time or just sit and read a book or soak up the sun or whatever it is. Maybe on that day, we don't even leave the ship. Right. And if we're in a fun place abroad, we just have one day where we just go to the local coffee shop and do what locals do, go to the local park, go to the local bookstore, whatever it is. So you want to enjoy your environment. That doesn't cost anything. You want to enjoy the local culture. Always put in downtime. That's not only going to save you mental space and, especially if you're traveling with family, kids get tired too, right?
Right.
Darn it, this is the happiest place on earth. You're going to have a good time. We're going to stay till 11. Oh, the poor kids are
Yeah.
screaming, right? You don't have to do that. So just think about putting time in. And if you're doing the big park thing, the Disney thing, whatever, go in the morning when everybody's fresh, go home or go back to the hotel, take a nap, do 2 or 3 hours, maybe go swimming, take a nap, then come back for the evening. And you're not going to miss, you're probably going to enhance. So those are things you can do. Might cut the costs, maybe go back and have lunch or even an early dinner in the hotel that you prepare instead of the expensive park tickets, right? And do the things the locals do.
All right, folks, you've heard that. Make sure you are taking notes, and we are at the tail end of our show, so you guys know what that means. Whoops. Another great summer challenge, but this one I got to hear. What do you got for us?
Here's your challenge. And it's going to be on the soft side of things this time. Not a hard budget, but it's going to be the big rocks. So talk to everybody. If you have a trip coming up, here we are in July. A lot of people are getting in those trips this summer, this vacations. Ask everybody the one thing they really want to do. And this might be a skinny year where you're not out doing all these big old trips, but you need a staycation this time because you're in a bottleneck, maybe financially. Ask everybody one thing they want to do before school starts again and plan that. If you do have a trip planned, what's the one thing that would make that trip the best ever? And get that down on pencil and paper, right? Pen and paper, and make sure that happens so everybody just has a wonderful time spending time with family and connecting and all that, but also it's just great memories. That's your challenge.
All right, you've heard the challenge, folks. And remember, we're here every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. with the replays on Thursdays at 8 p.m. So any last party words, Judy?
Oh, just enjoy, celebrate that we get to live here every day. I love our country. I love what's happening. God bless America. Make it a great week.
Take care, you guys. Until next week.